is quiet now, the kind of stillness that feels older than time itself. In this hush, where the mind softens and the heart begins to listen, ancient teachings rise like stars, each one a small light upon the path of awakening. These stories are simple, yet within them lies a wisdom as deep as the ocean and as gentle as a single breath. They come from monasteries hidden in mist, from travelers who carried truth across mountains, from monks who learned by living and not merely by words. Each tale offers not instruction, but reflection, a mirror held up to the mind, so we may see the stillness beneath our restless thoughts. The Buddha taught that peace is not something we gain. It is something we uncover, the quiet beneath the noise, the space between each heartbeat. To walk this path is to remember what we have forgotten. That clarity and compassion are already within us, waiting to be seen. In these stories, you will meet seekers and wanderers, monks and mothers, moments of sorrow and sudden light. You will hear of a man caught between two tigers, yet tasting sweetness amid fear. You will listen to the wisdom of two arrows, the first of pain, the second of reaction. You will walk with a grieving mother through countless homes, discovering the shared truth of loss. You will see how anger dissolves when it meets the calm of understanding. You will witness generosity that transcends possession, and you will drink from a teacup that teaches impermanence. Each story is a reflection of the same truth, that everything changes, and yet within that change lies freedom. To resist life is to suffer. To meet it fully is to awaken. So before we begin, take a breath. Feel it travel through you, in, out, soft, complete. The teachings you are about to hear are not meant to fill the mind with knowledge, but to empty it like a teacup waiting to receive. Let the words move through you, not as lessons to keep, but as ripples that remind you how still the water beneath them truly is. For in the end, the greatest teacher is not the story, but the silence that follows it. Tonight, we walk the path of 6 stories, each a doorway to the same eternal truth. That peace is not found in what changes, but in the awareness that never does. Come softly and let us begin. Once in the quiet folds of an ancient forest, a monk wandered in search of solitude and truth. The sun filtered through tall trees, weaving golden threads between shadow and leaf. He carried nothing but a small bowl and the rhythm of his own breath. His heart was steady, his steps unhurried. Each sound, a bird's call, the rustle of wind, was part of a great, living silence that wrapped around him like a robe. As he walked along a narrow cliffside path, a sudden growl shattered the stillness. From behind him, a tiger emerged, large, wild, and hungry. The monk froze for a heartbeat, then ran. His bare feet struck the earth in rhythm with his pulse, the sound of his breath mixing with the low thunder of the beast behind him. The path ended abruptly at the edge of a steep drop. Below, the cliff fell into darkness. Without hesitation, the monk leapt over the edge and caught hold of a vine that hung from the rocks. The tiger prowled above, its golden eyes watching, waiting. The monk clung tightly, his body swaying with the wind. Then, as he looked down, his heart sank, for at the base of the cliff, another tiger waited, pacing and growling, its eyes glinting in the dim light. Between two tigers, the monk hung suspended, death above, death below. His fingers tightened on the vine, but then he noticed something small and red growing from the rock beside him. A strawberry, perfect, fresh. For a moment, everything stopped, the roaring, the fear, even time itself. He reached out with one hand, plucked the strawberry, and placed it on his tongue. It was sweet beyond words. In that single taste, there was no tiger, no fear, no past, no future, only the pure, complete wonder of this moment. The Buddha once said, "Do not dwell in the past. Do not dream of the future. Concentrate the mind on the present moment." The monk did not escape the tigers that day, but for the first time, he tasted life without resistance. We too often hang between our fears and our hopes, between what was and what might be. Our minds run from the tiger of yesterday, only to find another waiting in tomorrow. But life, real life, is always happening in the space between. It is not hidden in the past we mourn or the future we chase. It exists in the breath we are taking right now, simple, clear, unrepeatable. When the monk tasted the strawberry, he met reality without condition. He did not ask for safety or promise. He received the moment as it was, fleeting, vivid, and whole. And so the teaching is simple. When fear surrounds you, taste what is before you. When life feels uncertain, touch what is real. The present moment is the only ground that never crumbles. In the silence after the monk's story, something lingers, a sweetness that has nothing to do with fruit. It is the sweetness of awakening, the gentle recognition that this breath, this heartbeat, this stillness is enough. The tigers of the world, fear, desire, loss, time, are never truly gone. They circle quietly, waiting at the edges of thought. Yet between them flows the simple current of now, untouched by their hunger. The monk's courage was not in running from the tigers, nor in fighting them. It was in surrender, the willingness to be fully alive even when tomorrow was uncertain. When he reached for that strawberry, he was not seeking escape. He was honoring existence itself. In Zen, it is said, "Before enlightenment, chop wood, carry water. After enlightenment, chop wood, carry water." The world does not change, our seeing does. The same forest, the same dangers, the same impermanence. But now, everything is illuminated by awareness. When you pause to truly see, to truly taste, even a moment becomes sacred. The mind no longer demands that life be different. It bows to the miracle of what already is. So ask yourself gently, what strawberries grow from the cliffs of your life? What small, perfect things wait unnoticed while your mind chases safety and certainty? Perhaps it is the warmth of breath, the quiet hum of night, the stillness that gathers when you simply stop trying to control the world. The tigers may roar, the wind may shake the vine, but the strawberry remains vibrant, alive here. The monk's story reminds us that mindfulness is not escape from danger, but presence within it. The world may tremble, yet awareness stays unmoved, like the sky watching over passing clouds. And as you close your eyes tonight, remember, peace does not come when the tigers disappear. It comes when you no longer run, when you taste the sweetness of being alive, even for one breath. The whole universe is contained within that moment. To live like the monk is to live awake, to see the fleeting nature of all things and still smile, still taste, still bow in gratitude. Because the truth is this: we are all hanging from the vine, but we are also the strawberry, fragile, radiant, and infinitely precious, existing only now. Once, when the rains had passed and the air was clear with renewal, the Buddha sat beneath the shade of a great Bodhi tree. His disciples gathered around him, their robes fluttering like saffron leaves in the wind. A young monk stepped forward, his eyes heavy with sorrow. "Master," he said softly, "why is it that even those who practice the way still suffer? I have let go of desire, yet pain still finds me." The Buddha looked upon him with compassion. "There are two arrows that strike the human heart," he said. "The first is the arrow of pain, unavoidable, natural, part of the body and the world. The second is the arrow of suffering born not from the event, but from the mind's reaction to it." He lifted a small twig from the ground, holding it between his fingers. "The first arrow is like this twig, sharp, but momentary. The second arrow is the one we craft ourselves, out of fear, resentment, and resistance. And we shoot it again and again, long after the first wound has healed." The monks listened in silence. The Buddha continued, "When one loses what they love, pain arises, the first arrow. But when the mind clings to that loss, repeats it, builds stories around it, says, 'Why me? This should not have happened,' that is the second arrow. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional." The young monk bowed his head. He understood the words, but not yet the truth within them. Later that night, as he sat in meditation, a mosquito landed on his arm and bit him. His instinct flared irritation, frustration. Then, suddenly, he remembered. The first arrow had struck the bite, but the second arrow was his anger, his story about it. He breathed deeply, watching the sensation dissolve. In that simple act, he discovered peace, not by removing pain, but by refusing to add to it. The Buddha's teaching spread through the monastery like a quiet wind. Each monk began to notice the second arrows they carried, the words they replayed, the memories they held tight, the small wounds they reopened with thought. Slowly, they began to lay them down. Life will always bring its arrows: loss, change, illness, disappointment. No one escapes the first arrow, but the second one, that is our choice. To see the difference is to awaken. To stop shooting is to heal. As the days passed, the young monk continued his practice with with new awareness. He saw how the mind clung to what had already passed, how easily a small pain became a mountain of suffering. The more he watched, the more he understood the Buddha's wisdom. That peace was not freedom from pain, but freedom from reaction. One afternoon, he walked through the village, where people went about their daily lives. He saw a woman scolding her child, a merchant arguing over the price of rice, a man cursing the rain. He saw arrows everywhere, invisible, self-inflicted, yet piercing deeply. And he saw that compassion, too, was born from understanding this, for all beings were wounding themselves unknowingly. He returned to the Buddha and said, "Master, I see now that every being carries pain. But why do we keep shooting ourselves with the second arrow?" The Buddha smiled. "Because we forget that we are not the arrow. We identify with our pain, thinking it defines us. But pain passes, while awareness remains. When we rest in awareness, we see the arrow fall before it strikes." That night, under the same Bodhi tree, the monk sat quietly and watched his thoughts come and go. He noticed how a small memory rose, a word from his past, a loss from his youth, and how quickly the mind wanted to grab it, to make it real again. Each time, he breathed softly, letting it drift away. He realized that suffering was not a punishment, but a teacher, a mirror showing where the heart still clung. Every thought of should or should not was a second arrow, a choice to resist what already was. Slowly, the monk began to live differently. When pain came, he bowed to it. When joy came, he bowed as well. Both were arrows passing through the same sky. He no longer asked, "Why me?" but "What can I learn?" And the answer was always the same: let go. The Buddha said, "With our thoughts, we make the world." To end suffering, one need not end life's pain, but the stories that bind to it. The heart that accepts all things, pleasure and sorrow alike, becomes vast, unpierceable, and free. As night fell over the monastery, the monk heard the crickets begin their song. He smiled, knowing that pain might visit again, but suffering no longer needed to stay. And perhaps, as you listen now, you can feel that same truth, that life's arrows are inevitable. But peace lies in the pause between them, in the breath that neither clings nor resists, but simply is. Long ago, in a quiet village nestled at the foot of a mountain, there lived a young woman named Kisa Gatami. Her eyes were bright as morning, her laughter soft as falling rain. When her first child was born, her heart overflowed with love, pure, complete, and boundless. She carried the boy everywhere, humming lullabies that melted into the rhythm of daily life. But one night, the boy fell ill. His breath grew shallow, his skin pale. She prayed to every god she knew, called every healer she could find, yet the small chest stopped rising. Her world grew silent. The warmth in her arms turned cold. She wept through the night, rocking the still body, whispering, "Wake, my child, wake." But dawn came, and the child did not stir. Refusing to believe, she wrapped the little body in a blanket and ran through the streets. "Please," she begged the villagers, "give me medicine for my son. He has fallen asleep. He must wake." The people turned away in sorrow. Some pitied her, others avoided her gaze. "He is gone," they said softly. "You must let him go." But Kisa could not hear them. Her grief was too deep, her love too fierce. Finally, someone said, "Go to the Buddha. He may have the medicine you seek." So she went, barefoot and trembling, her tears streaking the dust on her face. When she reached the Buddha, she fell at his feet. "Blessed One," she cried, "please, give me the medicine that will bring my child back." The Buddha looked upon her with infinite compassion. "Kisa Gautami," he said gently, "to make the medicine, I will need one thing, a handful of mustard seeds." Her eyes lit up with hope. "I can bring that," she said eagerly. But the Buddha continued, "The seeds must come from a house where no one has ever died." Kisa bowed and ran from the monastery, her heart pounding. She went from door to door. At the first house, a woman offered mustard seeds gladly. But when Kisa asked, "Has anyone died here?" the woman lowered her eyes. "Yes, my father passed last year." Kisa sighed and moved on. The next house, and the next, every home had its own story of loss. A mother, a son, a husband, a friend. Some deaths were recent, some long past, but death had touched them all. As the sun fell beyond the hills, Kisa sat by the roadside, her bundle of empty hands resting in her lap. The stillness of evening pressed gently around her. She looked up at the stars and saw what she had been unable to see before, that her pain was not hers alone. That night, under the silent sky, Kisa Gautami wept, but her tears were different now. They no longer burned with the fire of denial. They fell softly, mingling with the dust of the earth, joining the countless tears shed by others before her. She returned to the Buddha, her eyes tired but clear. Bowing deeply, she said, "I could not find a single house untouched by death. Every home has known loss." The Buddha nodded gently. "You have found your medicine," he said. "It is not in the mustard seed, but in understanding. The one who knows that death is part of life, who sees that sorrow is shared by all beings, has already begun to heal." Kisa closed her eyes, and in that moment, something within her loosened, the tightness around her heart, the desperate grasp of mine and me. She saw that clinging to what must change was the root of suffering, and that compassion is born from recognizing our shared impermanence. In time, Kisa joined the Sangha, devoting her life to the path of peace. Her grief became her teacher, her loss a doorway to awakening. The Buddha once said, "Everything that has a beginning has an ending. Make your peace with that, and all will be well." Kisa came to understand that love is not diminished by impermanence. It is deepened by it. To love fully is to hold gently, to know that every breath, every heartbeat, every smile is a moment borrowed from eternity. And so, her heart grew vast, wide enough to hold both joy and sorrow without being broken by either. She began to walk through the world with quiet eyes, seeing that every person she met was carrying some invisible loss, some quiet ache hidden beneath their daily lives. When she spoke to others, she did not speak of death, but of kindness. She reminded them that to live with awareness of impermanence is to live with gratitude for the sunrise, the laughter, the touch of wind upon the face. Death no longer frightened her. It had become her teacher, her companion, her reminder that everything precious is precious because it passes. And so, the teaching of the mustard seed became more than a story. It became a truth whispered across generations. That sorrow, when met with understanding, becomes compassion. That loss, when seen clearly, reveals love's true depth. If you too have known loss, if your heart has carried the weight of something gone, remember Kisa Gatami. Remember that every heart around you has broken in some way. In this shared fragility lies our shared humanity. When you see that no house is free from death, you stop asking, "Why me?" and begin to whisper, "We all walk together." And in that knowing, grief begins to soften. What remains is not despair, but tenderness, a gentle light that flickers in the dark, reminding us that impermanence is not the end of love, but the reason we love at all. One morning, as the Buddha walked through a small village with his disciples, the air was thick with heat and dust. The people gathered along the road to greet him. Some bowed in reverence, others whispered among themselves. But one man stood apart, his eyes dark with resentment. He had heard that the Buddha taught peace and compassion, and it stirred something bitter in him, a storm he could not name. As the Buddha approached, the man stepped forward and shouted, "You speak of truth, yet you deceive the people. You wander the land, taking offerings and preaching words that make men weak." His voice trembled with rage, his hands clenched. The Buddha stopped and looked at him, his gaze steady and calm. The crowd held its breath, waiting for a response, but the Buddha said nothing. He stood in silence until the man's anger burned itself out, like fire consuming its own fuel. Still, the man sneered, "Have you nothing to say? Are you too proud to answer me?" Finally, the Buddha spoke, his tone soft as water flowing over stone. "Tell me," he said, "if someone offers you a gift, and you choose not to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" The man frowned, confused. "To the one who offered it, of course." The Buddha smiled gently. "Then I do not accept your anger. It remains with you." The man stood frozen, his rage faltering under the weight of those simple words. The Buddha bowed slightly and continued walking, his disciples following in quiet awe. The villagers murmured, astonished at what they had witnessed, peace triumphing not through force, but through understanding. That night, the man could not sleep. The Buddha's words echoed in his mind, soft yet unrelenting. He began to see his anger for what it truly was, a burden he had carried, a fire he had tended without reason. He saw how often he had thrown his anger outward, trying to burn others, only to be scorched himself. The Buddha's question was no riddle. It was a mirror. And when the man looked into it, he saw himself, weary, wounded, and tired of fighting shadows. The next morning, he sought the Buddha and bowed before him. "Master," he said, "yesterday I gave you anger. Today, I ask to learn peace." The Buddha nodded and said, "Then begin by seeing that anger is never given to you by others. It is something you choose to receive. When you no longer take it in, you are free." The man smiled faintly, the first genuine smile he had known in years. Days passed, and the man stayed near the Buddha's camp, listening to his teachings. Each day, the fire in his chest grew smaller, its embers dimming. Yet sometimes, anger would still rise, old habits whispering in familiar tones. Whenever it did, he remembered the Buddha's words, "Do not accept what harms you." One evening, he sat by the river, watching the reflection of the sunset ripple across the water. He realized that anger was like mud stirred from the bottom of a clear stream. It clouded everything until stillness allowed it to settle again. The river did not fight the mud. It simply waited, patient and unmoving. He understood then that peace was not a gift from the world. It was the absence of reaction. No one could give or take it. It lived quietly beneath the noise, waiting for awareness. The Buddha often taught, hatred does not cease by hatred, hatred ceases by love. And the man began to see that love, in its purest form, was not attachment or sentiment, but understanding, the ability to look at another's anger and see their suffering beneath it. He remembered how the Buddha had looked at him that day, not with judgment, not with fear, but with a compassion so wide that it left no room for conflict. The Buddha had seen his pain even when he could not, and that seeing had transformed him. The man began to practice in his own heart. When anger came, he paused and asked, "To whom does this belong?" If the answer was to me, he let it be. If it was offered by another, he smiled and let it drift past. Slowly, the walls inside him crumbled and the fire cooled to ash. One afternoon, a traveler approached him, angry and loud, shouting insults. The man listened, calm and unmoving. When the traveler stopped, breathless, the man said gently, "Friend, I do not accept your anger. You may keep it if you wish." The traveler blinked, confused, then turned and walked away, his fury deflated by the weight of its own futility. The man smiled and looked up at the sky, now streaked with gold. He understood that true strength is not in striking back, but in standing so still that no blow can land. The Buddha's lesson was not merely about anger, but about all that binds us: resentment, pride, fear. Every emotion we grasp becomes ours. Every one we release returns to the wind. And as the man closed his eyes, he whispered into the fading light, "I will no longer carry what was never mine." The river flowed on, eternal and quiet, reflecting the last fire of sunset, And in that reflection, peace shimmered, boundless and complete, in a quiet monastery high among mist-strapped mountains. Dawn began with the low hum of a bell. The air carried the scent of rain and pine, and the monks moved silently through the morning, each step a prayer. Among them was an old master, known not for sermons or debate, but for his calm presence, a peace so deep that even the wind seemed to slow near him. One day, as the monks gathered for tea, a young novice approached the master. He had spent years memorizing scriptures, meditating long hours, yet still found himself restless. Bowing, he asked softly, "Master, how do you remain so serene? How can you love this world knowing that everything changes and ends?" The master lifted his small clay teacup from the table. It was plain, slightly chipped at the rim, and bore the soft stain of years. He held it gently in both hands, turning it so the light glimmered off its curved surface. "Do you see this cup?" he said. "Yes, master," the novice replied. "To me," the master said, "this cup is already broken." The novice blinked. "Broken, but it is whole." The master smiled. "When I understand that the cup is already broken, I cherish it completely. I drink from it with gratitude, knowing that one day it will fall and shatter, and that is its nature. If I believed it would last forever, I would live in fear of losing it. But because I know it is already gone, every sip of tea is precious." The room fell silent. The young monk stared at the cup, the meaning settling slowly into him like tea leaves sinking to the bottom of a bowl. The master continued, "All things are like this cup. Every breath, every friendship, every sunrise. They are fragile, temporary, and beautiful. To hold them without clinging, to love them without demand, that is peace." The novice bowed again, but tears glimmered in his eyes. "Then, master," he whispered, "is the heart also meant to break?" The old monk smiled, his gaze tender. "Yes, and in its breaking it opens." Outside, a breeze stirred the bamboo, and the sound filled the hall like soft rain. The master poured tea into the novice's cup. Steam rose between them, curling and vanishing into the morning light. "Drink," he said. "Taste this moment. It too will never return." The novice lifted the cup, its warmth resting in his hands. The taste of tea was simple, earthy, and real. And in that quiet moment, he felt the truth of impermanence, not as sorrow, but as the very pulse of life. To see that all things change is not to lose peace. It is to awaken to the beauty that only change allows. In the days that followed, the young monk noticed the lesson everywhere. The morning mist dissolving into sunlight, the petals of a lotus drifting down the pond, the echo of a bell fading into silence. Each moment arose, shone, and vanished, and in that vanishing, he began to see not loss, but wonder. He sought the master again and asked, "How do I live without holding on? When I love, I fear the end. When I see beauty, I wish it to remain." The master smiled. "When you drink tea, do you cling to its flavor after you swallow?" The monk shook his head. "No, master, the taste disappears." "And yet," said the master, "it nourishes you, does it not? It becomes part of you, not by staying, but by passing through. So it is with all things you love." The young monk pondered these words. He began to move through his days differently, more slowly, more aware. He swept the courtyard with care, each stroke of the broom a small act of gratitude. He bowed not just to statues, but to sunlight, to footsteps, to laughter. One evening, as twilight spilled across the mountains, he accidentally dropped his teacup. It shattered upon the stone floor, its sound ringing like a tiny bell. For a moment, his heart tightened, then softened. He knelt and gathered the fragments in his hands, smiling. The cup had returned to the earth from which it came. Its journey was complete. When he showed the master, the elder nodded. "Now," he said, "you truly see. The broken cup is not gone. Its form has changed, but its essence remains. So too with every life, every joy, every sorrow." The young monk bowed, his eyes clear. "Then nothing is ever truly lost," he whispered. "Nothing," said the master, "only transformed." The Buddha taught, "All things are born, all things decay. But he who understands impermanence understands the nature of peace." The next morning, the young monk brewed tea once more, using a new cup, plain, fragile, and already in his heart broken. He smiled as he poured, not with fear of loss, but with gratitude for the moment that was. And so, the teacup became his teacher, not through perfection, but through its inevitable end. It taught him that every fleeting thing, every face, every breath, every dawn is sacred because it passes. In the hush of that understanding, life itself became a cup of tea, to be held gently, sipped slowly, and appreciated fully before it, too, is gone. And when the last drop is gone, only stillness remains, pure, complete, and eternal. In the heart of the city of Savatthi, the streets were alive with sound, the chatter of merchants, the scent of spices, the clatter of pots, the hum of life unfolding. Among the people walked the Buddha and his disciples, their robes faded with years of travel, their bowls empty, their steps unhurried. Wherever the Buddha went, a quiet seemed to follow, not silence, but a stillness that made the noise of the world seem softer, lighter, less consuming. One morning, as the monks sat beneath a fig tree, a wealthy merchant approached, his garments woven of gold and silk. He bowed deeply and said, "Blessed one, I wish to make an offering." From his servant's hands, he took a robe, fine, shimmering, and heavy with embroidery. He laid it before the Buddha, saying, "Please accept this robe as a gift worthy of your greatness." The Buddha looked at the robe, then at the man's face. "Tell me, my friend," he said gently, "do you give this robe to honor truth or to honor yourself?" The merchant hesitated. His lips parted to speak, but no sound came. The Buddha smiled softly. "A gift is not measured by its worth in gold," he said. "It is measured by the heart from which it comes. The merchant bowed his head, humbled. Then to whom should I give it? He asked. Find one who has none, said the Buddha, and your offering will become true. The man nodded and left. As he walked through the city, his eyes began to open. He saw what he had not seen before, a beggar sleeping in the shadow of a wall, a mother sewing her child's torn cloak, a monk mending his robe with threadbare cloth. For the first time, his heart felt something unfamiliar, compassion untainted by pride. He found an old monk sitting by the roadside, his robe so thin it was nearly transparent. Without a word, the merchant knelt and placed the golden robe in the monk's hands. The old man's eyes shone, not for the gift, but for the kindness behind it. That night, when the merchant returned to the Buddha, he said, I have given the robe to one in need. But tell me, Master, why do I feel lighter, as though I have been given something instead of giving? The Buddha smiled. Because generosity, he said, frees both the giver and the receiver. When the hand opens, the heart opens. What we release returns as peace. In the days that followed, the merchant began to live differently. He continued his trade, but something within him had shifted. His joy no longer came from wealth itself, but from what wealth could become: warmth for the cold, food for the hungry, comfort for those who had none. He returned often to hear the Buddha speak, and one morning the Buddha said to his disciples, there are 3 kinds of giving. The first is out of fear, when one gives to avoid misfortune. The second is out of duty, when one gives because it is expected. The third, the purest, is out of love, when one gives because the heart cannot do otherwise. The merchant listened closely. He knew once he had given out of pride, the need to be seen as generous. But now, his heart moved differently. He no longer sought recognition. His reward was the quiet joy that followed the act itself. The Buddha continued, to give where there is need, without seeking praise, is to touch the path of awakening. For the one who gives with pure intention receives more than he gives. He receives freedom from the self that clings. That evening, the merchant walked through the market. He saw people haggling, shouting, grasping, and he saw himself as he once was. But now, his eyes were soft. He understood that all beings seek security, love, and meaning, yet few realize that in giving, they already have all 3. He began to share not only his goods, but his time, his patience, his presence. He gave without measure, without counting. And with each act of giving, his world grew wider, brighter, lighter. The Buddha once said, generosity brings joy at every stage, in the thought, in the giving, and in the remembrance. The merchant now lived this truth. He understood that true wealth was not stored in gold, but in compassion, that abundance flows not from possession, but from release. Years later, when his fortunes had waned and his body had grown frail, the merchant sat beneath the same fig tree where he had first met the Buddha. A young monk approached and offered him water. The merchant smiled and said, I once gave a robe of gold. Today, I receive water from your hands. Both are gifts, both are sacred. In giving or receiving, there is no difference when the heart is open. The monk bowed, and the merchant closed his eyes. He felt no loss, no regret, only the quiet fullness that generosity leaves behind. The Buddha's teaching had become his life. What is given with love is never lost. It flows endlessly, like light reflected in water, illuminating all it touches. And so, the robe became more than fabric. It became a symbol of the wealth that cannot fade, the wealth of a free and compassionate heart. The night deepens now, and all the stories have gently come to rest. The monk with the strawberry, the wounded one learning the truth of 2 arrows, the grieving mother who sought a mustard seed, the man who met his own anger, the master who cherished a fragile cup, and the merchant who learned the beauty of true giving. Each story, like a single bead, threads together into the same quiet truth. That peace does not live in perfection or permanence, but in understanding. It is found not in escape from life, but in the way we meet it, awake, gentle, and open. The monk taught us that even when death surrounds us, we can still taste sweetness, for the present moment is the only place untouched by fear. The Buddha's lesson of the 2 arrows showed that suffering is not in what happens to us, but in how we hold it. Kisagotami's search revealed that grief binds us until we see that loss belongs to all, and compassion begins when we recognize that we never suffer alone. The angry man learned that peace is a choice, that anger, when left unaccepted, returns to silence. The old monk and his teacup showed that beauty is born of impermanence, that we can love fully only when we stop clinging. And the merchant's golden robe reminded us that giving freely is the highest form of freedom. The moment when the self dissolves into compassion. Together, these teachings form a single breath. To live awake is to live without grasping. To see clearly is to love without possession, to feel deeply without drowning, to act with kindness without seeking reward. The Buddha once said, "Peace comes from within. Do not seek it without." And now, as the last echoes of these stories fade into stillness, that truth returns to you. Peace was never waiting at the end of the path. It has been here all along, beneath the noise, beneath the thought, beneath the endless turning of what comes and goes. So as you rest in this moment, let your heart be soft. Let every story, every word, every silence settle within you like falling petals. You do not need to hold them, for what is true will remain without effort. Take a slow breath in and out. Feel the quiet space within you, vast, boundless, ancient. This is the same space that held the monk on the cliff, the Buddha beneath the tree, the woman beneath her grief, the man beside his anger, the master with his teacup, and the merchant with his gift. It holds you too. There is nothing more to seek, nothing more to become. You are already part of this stillness, already the river, the sky, the breath, the truth. May these teachings walk beside you, as softly as light moves across water. May they remind you, whenever life feels heavy, that even in change there is beauty, and even in endings there is peace. And when you open your eyes again to the world, may you see it not as something to conquer, but something to cherish. For the journey of wisdom does not lead away from life. It leads you gently, lovingly, back home, into the still heart that has been waiting within you all along.